Consumer advocates say the public outcry over Bayless' death at Glenwood Gardens exposes the need to talk about expectations and choices for end-of-life care. Chris Murphy, Executive Director of Consumer Advocates for Residential Care Facility for Elderly Reform, joins me with more. Chris, thanks so much for being here. Are all senior care facilities regulated?
No. In the state of California, there are two predominant levels of care. One is a skilled nursing facility, which is a medical facility providing medical services, and it's regulated by Department of Public Health. The assisted living model is considered a social model of providing care and supervision, and it's licensed by the Department of Social Services. In the state of California, there's about 8,000 licensed residential care facilities for the elderly.
So there's different levels then, and the regulation is based on those different levels of care?
Yes, it's distinguished. The regulation is distinguished by whether or not the facility is a non-medical facility or a medical facility.
Let's talk about, in this particular case, I want to hear from Dr. Neil Farber at UCSD. We spoke with him earlier today about who should perform CPR at either one of these facilities, and let's listen to what he had to say.
We know that basically medical care needs to be done by someone who is licensed to be able to do so, and who is trained to do so. But CPR is something that the lay people in this country can perform, and so there is no reason for someone who knows how to give CPR to not do so unless the person requests that it not be done.
Now, that said, Glenwood Gardens' parent company now says that the worker who called 911 was not a nurse and that she misunderstood the company's policy about administering CPR. This brings to mind, what questions should a family member ask if you are heading into any kind of senior care facility or assisted living facility about CPR or end-of-life care?
I think it's really important for consumers looking to place someone in an assisted living facility that they ask the key questions of, well, first that they understand what the expectations are, that the assisted living model is a non-medical model, so the facility is not allowed to provide medical care, nor does the facility have to hire skilled medical professionals. So it would be important to ask whether or not the caregivers have their first aid certificates, as they are required to, and whether they are trained in CPR. And it would be very important to review the admissions policy and the admissions agreement to see whether the facility speaks to an emergency situation like this, which failed Miss Bayless.
Right, so you could figure out ahead of time your expectation, which needs to be clear, because some people, like Miss Bayless' family, said they're satisfied because she wanted to go, quote, naturally.
Right.
So
that brings up another issue for end of life, which is to do some end-of-life planning. And if you don't want to be resuscitated in the event of an emergency, then it's important to have a do not resuscitate order that's in writing. And if you're living in the assisted living facility, that should be part of your resident file if you are the person or the responsible party, so that the facility knows what your wishes are and can respond accordingly. Now, the facility is required to call 911 because they are to provide
emergency service. But if you have a DNR, EMS people will honor that. Absolutely.
The facility should bring that DNR out, have it ready to present to the EMTs when they arrive.
If you wanted to see a change, what would you like to see changed? And would it be, medical care? What would you like to see changed?
I would like to see that that there's a recognition that there are more and more medically needy and frail residents living in these facilities, basically being cared for by about 98% of their time by caregivers who only have 10 hours of initial training before they go on the floor. So if these are if we are going to have more medically needy residents, maybe we should reconsider having some skilled medical professionals be on staff at this point in time, that's not the regulation.
All right, certainly a direction to move forward in. Chris Murphy, thank you very much.
Thank you.